This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Hi, and welcome to Free for All Friday. Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. Want to talk a little bit about the situation down in Mississippi with the controversy over the Republican senatorial primary. Senator Thad Cochran declared the winner, but there are now evidence surfacing of a number of irregularities. I've got a column up on this topic today on our news site, One News Now, and let me grab my piece. The title of the piece that I have written, the column that I posted there so you can find it, is It Ain't Over in Mississippi. It Ain't Over in Mississippi. Now, I want to give you some of the details that I've come across in my research preparing for the program today. By the way, a terrible tragedy in connection with this. One of the supporters of Senator Chris McDaniel, he's an attorney. He was with the Mississippi Tea Party. He was a lawyer, and he was arrested in connection with the photograph of Senator Cochran's wife, who is suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's, is in an assisted living facility, and some blogger snuck into her room. This was entirely without the awareness even of the McDaniel campaign, let alone the consent or the authorization, took her picture. And this blogger apparently thought that was going to be his big break. He was going to break this story. It was going to kind of put him on the map. He thought he was doing this for Senator McDaniel. Now, when Senator McDaniel heard about it, the first thing he did, he got hold of his staff and said, you got to find out who's responsible for this. They didn't know where it came from. They didn't know who had done it. They didn't know who had posted it. But Senator McDaniel said, look, we need to find out who's responsible for this, and we need to get that taken down. That's not how we're going to do things in this campaign. So it was the McDaniel campaign that saw that the pictures and that the video was pulled down off of the net. Now, somehow this attorney by the name of Mark Mayfield, he was caught up in this, accused of conspiracy, and I have no idea exactly what the charges against him were, how authorities thought he was complicit in this. Has always struck me as sort of a political witch hunt. Whoever's responsible for making these arrests, it struck me, were really working sort of on behalf of Senator Cochran. I'm not saying that Senator Cochran's campaign asked him to do it. I think it's more likely that they saw this as a way, this is an opportunity to help Senator Cochran. We're going to arrest as many people as we possibly can to make Senator McDaniel and his campaign look as bad as humanly possible, because it always just struck me as a complete overreach here of prosecutorial discretion. Anyway, this attorney, Mark Mayfield, committed suicide last night. I have no idea why. He's apparently got a family he's leaving behind. So it was a terrible, terrible tragedy. And again, it's impossible to speculate on motive, but he was someone who apparently was caught up in that event and now is dead, and his family deprived of a husband and a father. Now, turning to some of the scandal that's breaking in this McDaniel-Cochran race, you know, the reality is that there have been at least 800 ballots, maybe 1,000. Chris McDaniel telling Sean Hannity yesterday that they've identified 1,000 ballots that were improperly cast. If you go to gatewaypundit.com, which is where I first read about this breaking last night, Jim Hoff there actually has some pictures, and I'm looking at pictures right now of the poll books that show that there were people. I don't know, Rob, is there any way we can get a close-up on this? Can we get up on that? I'm going to have Rob close in on this picture. It's on Gateway Pundit. And what you can see here, this is a poll book, and what you have in one column, let me just double-check, what you have in this column over here are the people that voted on June 3rd. This is a Democratic poll book. These are the people that voted on June 3rd. So every one of these people that's got a voted scribbled in the box, they were a Democrat that voted on June 3rd. Now, this means that by law, it is against the law for them to vote on June 24. For them to vote on June 24 was to break electoral law. It would be to commit electoral fraud, whether they knew it or whether they didn't know it. And if you look in this right-hand column, you can see you've got 4 people in the left-hand column that voted on June 3rd, and 3 of them also voted on June 24th. That means every one of these people in this column, the right-hand column, committed a crime. Now, whether they knew it or not, I'm not saying they did this deliberately. I'm not saying they were trying to deceive these poll workers, trying to game the system. Maybe they were just told to show up and vote, and the poll workers, I mean, it's possible you had a crush of people because they were cranking this. This reminded me of what happened in Nevada when Harry Reid was in danger of losing to Sharon Angle, and Harry Reid called all the casino bosses and said, look, we're in trouble here. Early indications are we're in trouble here. I could lose to Sharon Angle. So the word went out that these casino bosses were to load all their casino workers, all the guys that ran the craps tables and the blackjack tables and all that, left a skeleton crew in the casinos. They rounded everybody up. They put them on buses and drove them down to polling stations so they could vote for Harry Reid. So you had these polling stations just swamped with casino workers in their uniforms, bust down there to these polling places to vote for Harry Reid. And you might have had something like this in Mississippi, where the ruling class Republicans were in a panic early on Tuesday afternoon, and so they drove the get out the vote drive among Democrats, liberal Democrats, into overdrive. So maybe these polling stations are just overrun by people. Hinds County, I don't know how many more people they had vote on June 24 than they did in June 3, but it was a massive increase, 40% or something like that. So maybe these polling stations just get overwhelmed. They get a little bit sloppy. They don't do a thorough check on whether this person has voted before, and they allow them to vote. And that would be a vote that's a fraudulent vote. Doesn't count. They vote a Democrat on June 3rd. They cannot vote in the Republican primary on June 24. Now, so Senator McDaniel has got people that are out in the field checking on this. These poll books are matters of public record. The law requires that county clerks make these available for inspection. And the McDaniel crowd is running into trouble trying to get this done. I'm looking at a piece here from the Gateway Pundit. Again, they were the ones that broke the story that there are apparently 800 fraudulent ballots minimum in Hinds County. Chris McDaniel saying the number is now over 1,000. And remember, the differential here is about 6,300. So they've just started this process and have identified at least 1,000 suspicious ballots that require further investigation. But now, according to Gateway Pundit, the Chris McDaniel campaign identified multiple Mississippi counties in which enough improper ballots were cast that a legal challenge to the outcome of the election is warranted. Now, the McDaniel campaign is saying that there are at least 10 counties where we have reasons to believe that electoral law was evaded. It was skirted, it was submarined, or it was just plain defied, just plain disobeyed. The McDaniel campaign has already found 1,000 examples in one county of Democrats, probably Hinds County, who voted in the June 3rd primary as Democrats and then crossed over into the Republican primary this week. And I showed you the picture. We had the close-up from the, where is that from? I think that's from Hinds County, you know, where 3 of the 4 people on that list cast an improper ballot. They broke the law. Voted Democrat June 3, voted Republican June 24. 3 out of the 4 people that voted on that one page. So it's entirely possible this is kind of an endemic problem. And the 1,000 examples they believe that they've identified already, just the tip of the iceberg. Now, Lindsey Kraut, an independent contractor working in Mississippi, was barred from reviewing voter rolls in Lafayette County. Is that Lafayette County or Lafayette County? Am I saying that right? Lafayette County, Mississippi. So here is an independent contractor. She's working to look at these poll books, which she's entitled to do by law, and she's been barred from reviewing these voter rolls. Lindsay said that when she went to the Lafayette County Courthouse this morning, she was forced to wait for an hour. Then the county clerk told her the Secretary of State's office said the county had to redact the Social Security number and addresses from the voter rolls. The clerk said it will take until Wednesday to redact the information, and the county will charge McDaniel supporters for the extra work. Now, Mississippi state law says that the clerk must allow public viewing of the election documentation for obvious reasons, to make sure everything is above board. Lindsay said McDaniel supporters in Lowndes County and Lauderdale County faced similar pushback from local officials. And there are reports now that Governor Phil Bryant wants to certify the election on Monday. So here, Lafayette County, look, we're not going to be able to get these Social Security numbers redacted until next Wednesday. It's going to cost you. We're going to charge you for our time, even though the law says the books have to be available for the public to inspect. And I can't imagine that that's a just fee that they're going to impose. And meanwhile, Governor Bryant wants to certify this election on Monday, and these county clerks are saying we can't have information for you even to look at until next Wednesday, 2 days after the election will be certified. McDaniel supporters are facing the same pushback in Stone County. So apparently now there are county clerks, and I mean, I'm guessing most of these county clerks are Republicans. Maybe some of them are Democrats. Either way, if they're Republicans and they owe their position to an establishment Republican, then they've got no interest in helping Chris McDaniel. And if they're Democrats, they've got no interest in helping Chris McDaniel. They've got an incentive to try to drag their feet and to obstruct. In other words, they ought to be actively cooperating. If this is about having an open, fair, and transparent election where it becomes evident to everybody that electoral law was followed, that there's no fraud here, that all of this is legitimate, then they should be cooperating. They should be shoving those polling books into the face of anybody who wants to look at them. The fact that they are making this difficult, I believe, is an indication that they've got something to hide. Why does Lois Lerner go before Congress and invoke the Fifth Amendment? Because she doesn't want to incriminate herself. She's got something to hide. Why do you destroy emails? Because you have something to hide. So why is it that these county clerks are making life difficult for McDaniel supporters to access these poll books, which they have a legal right to do? Well, I'm not accusing them of anything, but it looks suspicious. If you've got nothing to hide, if you're not worried about what they're going to find, then why would you not give them ready, instant, cooperative access to those polling books? Here's another piece of information that some precincts did not have voter lists from the June 3rd Democratic primary, so it was impossible for them to check. They don't have the poll books, the voter list from June 3. Somebody comes in June 24th, they got no way to check whether they can vote or not. Here's your ballot. Focal Point, AFR Talk.
This is Dr. Richard Land, president of Southern Evangelical Seminary. Once in a while, on Bringing Every Thought Captive, we deal with the truth to which we seek to bring every thought captive, namely Christ Jesus. We're doing that today. While reorganizing my library, I came across a book I hadn't looked at for more than a decade. As I leafed through it, I came across a story related by Charles Stanley that moved me deeply. It was about a farmer who had some puppies for sale. A little boy approached the farmer and said, "Mister, I want to buy one of your puppies." The farmer whistled and called out, "Dolly, here, Dolly." Out from the doghouse came Dolly, followed by 4 little balls of fur. Then another little ball of fur, lagging behind, smaller, slower, the runt of the litter. The little boy said, "I want that one." The farmer knelt down and said, "Son, you don't want that puppy. He'll never be able to run and play with you the way you would like." Then the boy reached down and slowly pulled up one leg of his jeans, revealing a steel cast that led down to a special shoe. He told the farmer, "I don't run too well myself, and he will need someone who understands." It hit me that's just like the incarnation. Jesus, our Savior, the Word made flesh, who came and dwelt among us. The book of Hebrews tells us that we have a merciful and a faithful high priest who is able to sympathize with our weaknesses because he was tempted in every way, just as we are, yet without sin. Jesus always understands. When nobody understands your trials and tribulations, Jesus understands. For more information about Southern Evangelical Seminary, or how you can download the free mobile SES app, go to ses.edu. That's ses.edu. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless America. This is Richard Land.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Listen to the audio podcast or download today's program at afr.net. You can also read Brian Fisher's columns at onenewsnow.com. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us anytime at focalpoint@afr.net.
Focalpoint@afr.net.
Hi, and welcome back to this free-for-all Friday edition Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll start taking your phone calls.